What's going on? I'm about to do some real controversial footage for you guys. Every year, I do a thinning video. Every year, I get hammered in the comments by people saying, "Oh, Green Thumb, why are you cutting those plants out? Green Thumb, why aren't you picking those little seedlings out and replanting them and growing more? And oh, Green Thumb, why did you plant all those extra seeds in each cell if you're just going to cut them out anyways?" And so on and so forth. And I'm just going to make it really clear. I'm in a greenhouse right now. It's 12 by 7. Okay? By May 2-4 weekend, I'm going to have, if you count the leeks and the onions, and everything else that I'm growing in here, I'm probably going to have about 2,000 plants in this greenhouse. Okay? Most of them, except for things like onions and stuff, are going to be in solo cups. Imagine how much space that takes up. When I plant my seedlings, like these, okay, in trays, I always overplant my seeds in each cell. That way I know that as long as one of them germinates in each cell, I'm going to have the right amount of plants that I want to grow outside. So I don't plant more than I want, but I do put multiple seeds in each cell, right? So sometimes you'll have better germination than others in different plants. Newer seeds will have a higher germination rate than older seeds. So I don't plant more than I want, okay? I do with tomatoes, because I give those away, and I only want to plant the nicest of the nicest in my garden. So tomatoes, sometimes peppers are basically the only thing that I specifically overplant for that purpose. This year I actually dialed back on my tomatoes, and no, I'm not going to be picking out seedlings and putting them aside and replanting them and giving them to other people. That we're not even doing that. So this video is partially to explain how in my head I plan on planting out my garden, and I know as I'm planting how many of actual plants I plan on actually putting outside, right? So when you know that, then you know how many you need to have in each cell, or how many cells you need to pre-plant. That way you have enough to plant outside, right? Good? So no, I'm not picking seedlings out. No, I'm not going to let more grow in a cell than I want to. And I'll explain why as we go through the process here, okay? We're going to do some thinning. For those of you who get upset about this, I don't know, maybe this isn't the video for you. I know some of you people get upset about this. But we're doing it. You know why? Because nature is ruthless, and you have to be ruthless too. The best tools for thinning are fine-tipped pruners. You can get one like these. These are the Fiskars, okay? There's also little tiny ones that you can use. I like these because they fit my big fat hands better. So I've got a tray in here I just showed you guys. So we're gonna go through this tray, and I'll explain to you my thought processes, and we're just gonna trim as I sort of talk, and we'll go through this, okay? Okay, so this is Thai basil, okay? Now basil seeds are super tiny. If you guys haven't seen my video on when I planted this tray, check it out. I planted it a couple of weeks ago. So when you're growing plants like a Thai basil, you only want one plant to grow in each planting location, because they grow up like a little bush. They've got a woody stem, right? And this is not the kind of thing that you want to grow in clusters. So when I'm going to be doing thinning, I'm looking for a couple of things. I want to keep the largest plant, right? Like for example, this one right here, okay? But sometimes the largest plant isn't stable, and it's leggy, and it just shot up too fast, right? So sometimes, depending on what you're harvesting or what you're thinning, you may not want the tallest plant. I'm also looking for the most developed, right? So let's zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, So we're going to use this as an example, okay? So it has multiple sets of leaves on it. It's got nice, healthy growth right in the center, right? So out of all of these in this whole cell, I'm going to keep that one. So this is where you get Ruthless. Get your pruners. So you just kind of come in, isolate the one you want to keep, and just start removing. Oh, where's my little bucket? So we're just literally going to come in and chop them out. Get right down to that last individual basil. That's it. That's what we're looking for. And now I'm going to see, and now this one Thai basil is the one that I'm going to grow for the rest of the season. We're going to do the same thing on the next one. We're going to take a peek around, look inside. So we are going to keep this one here, okay? And then you just got to be ruthless. Like I said, Mother Nature is ruthless. You got to be ruthless too. Just come in, cut them right down at the ground. Get all your trimmings out of here because that will attract bugs, and we don't want bugs. All right, see how we're working it? This one is weird, so we're just going to come in and cut out that little one. Then we move our way down. See, and look at how many are in here. This is why you got to thin them, guys. How many plants do we have in here? There's probably like 8 little plants, right? So we're going to keep this big one in the back. And then we're just going to come in, use your pruners. And we're doing this for multiple reasons. See, look, there's even a little tiny one growing back in here. So we're thinning these for multiple reasons. One, okay, in each one of these cells, that's where these are going to stay until I plant these out next month. So these are going to be in here for about another 45 days unless they really get too big, and then I'll have to transplant them. So there's only so much nutrients in each one of these little cells, okay? So if you don't thin them, that means that they are all going to suffer from lack of nutrients because they're just going to literally just wipe out all the food that's in here, and you're going to definitely have to fertilize them. 2, they start to learn to support each other, right? Which means that when you thin them, eventually, if you do thin them when they're bigger, they're not going to stand up as nice because they've learned to rely on leaning on each other, right? Because I've got a fan in here. And so, and the other thing too is if you don't thin them, they're all going to fight to be the tallest plant because they want the most amount of light from the lights. So if you have a bunch, and here the next one is a good example, okay? All of these are all going to be fighting to get the most light, which means they may grow taller faster than they really need to, right? Because the shortest ones are eventually going to start getting shaded out like that, right? Getting shaded out by the taller ones. So we don't want to strip all unnecessary amounts of nutrients out of the soil. We want to give them the best chance possible of being the healthiest plant. Just come in here, cut those out. And we don't need these little plants to struggle. We want them as big and healthy as possible come planting season, right? So look what we went from. We went from all of that, and we cut out all of that. And sure, I mean, it's basil. You could certainly take that home and eat it, or take it in your kitchen and eat it. Next is Swiss chard. Swiss chard. Sorry guys, my tripod's acting up on me here. Next is Swiss chard. So we have rainbow Swiss chard, and we have rhubarb Swiss chard. And when you're growing Swiss chard, you also only want one plant per cell, because a root on a Swiss chard plant can be like this big, right? So you don't want all the roots all smashed up, and you want to be able to harvest each individual plant as the new growth grows, right? So if you have, like some of these have 5 or 6 plants in each, and you see how they're pulling each other down, right? They're pulling each other down because they're all getting too big for that one cell. So that's where, yet again, we have to be ruthless here. See, like, I'll show you what I mean. Like this rhubarb, this yellow Swiss chard right here is growing right over into the next cell. So we're just going to want to come in, and we're just going to do the same thing. Cut them out until you get the nicest plant. And this is where Swiss chard gets a little awkward, because it's all flopped over. See, look at that's all up in that cell, but it's actually growing out of that cell. And because these are seedlings, you do have to be a little gentle. Some plants can take more abuse than others, but you don't want to stress them and damage them when they're this small, right? Because then you'll have a stunted plant for the whole season. So once we isolate the ones we're going to keep, I'm going to cut them out. So now we have just that one Swiss chard. All right. See, same thing all over again. So that one has grown. That's a nice one. That's nicer than this one. So we're just going to remove that one. So we have that one we're going to keep, and we have oh my, see, imagine what this would look like, guys, if I didn't thin any of these come planting season, right? I'd never be able to get these untangled. They would just twist together like a big ball of yarn. So same as always, choose the ones you want based on its characteristics. So this is the rhubarb Swiss chard, and when it grows bigger, you see the veins in the back of that? They turn bright red. So I'm gonna work my way through here. Yeah, see? Big, tangled mess. All right, I'm gonna finish up the rest of the Swiss chard and then we'll move down. So we got them all thinned out. We got a little tiny one hanging out down here. So that's a big difference, eh? We cut all that out. Now you could literally just take that and wash it and make a salad. We're not going to, but so you see I've trimmed out all of them. Now there's just one single one growing in each one. And the only ones left on this tray that we have, the only ones left on this tray we have to thin out are the kale. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in, find the one that we like the most, Usually it's the one that has the most nicely developed leaves without any genetic defects in them. And then we're just going to come in and cut the rest out. One. Yeah, see? I'll show you which one we're working on here. So this one here has two. We've got that one and that one. And they're, at this point, they're basically the same, right? This one has a larger developed leaf here, and I'm not really picky with it, so we're just going to remove that. Work our way down the line. We come into here. We've got a nice plant here, see, and a little tiny one here. And now what'll happen is this plant, now that it's bigger and it's got more leaves out, is going to grow faster than this little plant because it's going to start shading out that little plant, right? That one's going to shade that one. So that's going to keep getting bigger, and this one is going to continue to struggle. As these leaves expand, it's going to act like an umbrella and block the light from that little one. Bye-bye, little one. See? And there we go. There's... Oh, can't see that. My bad. Sorry. There we go. All the kale's done. And this is all we're going to do on this tray because we're still waiting for other things to come in. Now, you guys can't really see here, but under the Swiss chard and the kale is rosemary, okay? Let's see if we can zoom it in here for you. There. See how there's a couple of little rosemary plants growing in here? There's a few going, okay? I'm not going to thin these yet. I could, right? But I'm going to give them about another week or so, because if there's any issues with any of these little ones, I want it to kind of fizzle out in the next week or show me that there's a reason I need to remove them. So this whole row here is all rosemary, and I'm not cutting it out yet. We'll give that a few more days. So that's it for this tray. So that's one of probably several thinning videos I'll be doing. There are some plants like this one. I'll show you right here. Okay, those are beets. And I have multiple beets growing per cell. Like it's a red and green jungle in there. I will not be thinning those because some plants, it's okay if they grow together, right? Like especially these, because they're going to be growing right on the ground, and the roots will just set in the ground and they'll just grow in clumps of beets. And that's no big deal. Beets don't mind doing that. So I won't be thinning out the beets. There's a couple other things. There's some broccoli and stuff back there that I'll be thinning out. We'll get to that in a later video. But I just wanted to explain to you why you need to thin your plants. And it's worth it. Like if you really want more plants, just start more plants. Don't be picking those little plants out. You know, because these seedlings, they're so fragile that if you try and pull the roots out and try and save them, there's a big possibility that you're going to damage the other plant's roots in that cell, and then you'll end up with multiple damaged plants. And if you damage it too early in its life cycle, that plant will struggle all season. And I've had it happen, right? It's just not worth it. If you want more plants, start more plants. Don't be trying to pick all your little seedlings out. It's not worth the headache. For the what, 5 cents it costs for a new seed and a little bit of potting soil, just start more plants, okay? That's all I got to say. Be ruthless, grow good food, and I'll see you on the next one.